Okay, so I want to make a short video to show you how to do a statistical plot on the TI-84. What I'm going to show you works for basically any TI-84 as long as the operating system is not ancient. If you have a really old 84 and it still has the original operating system, this might be different for you. But basically anything, within 10 years or so probably is going to work just like this. So the first thing that we want to do is make sure that we have the data that we're going to graph entered into the calculator. So to do that, I'm going to go into the stat menu for statistical data. And in the stat menu, I'm going to choose edit, the first option here. I'm going to edit statistical data. And then you can see I already have some data in my calculator. You might not. That's doesn't really matter. Personally, I always use list 1 and list 2 for my data. It just makes it easy for me to remember where it is. That is certainly not a requirement, but you do need to remember where you've put your data. I'm going to put my independent variable data, so that my X variable data, into list 1, and I'm going to put my dependent variable into list 2. In fact, this is the data that I'm going to use, but just in case you need a reminder, if you have data here that you need to delete, the way you delete that is choose right and left arrows to get to the list that you want, and then go up to the list name, and when you're up here, push enter, and then push clear. Push enter one more time, and that clears out the data. So if there's data already there that you need to clear out, highlight the name, enter, clear, enter, that deletes the data for you and it's gone. Then you type in the new data, and so there's the data that I have in my lists. Okay, so that's what I'm going to graph. The next thing that I do personally is I choose to graph or set up my viewing window next. So that's the next thing that I will do. You can see from my data here that I need my X data to show these numbers. So I'm going to choose a viewing window that goes from 0 to 6. That way I can see all of this data. Somewhat optional. I think it's nice if you can see the y-axis. It's certainly not required, but it's nice if you can see your axes, so it's nice if you can start at 0. And then I just like to have a little bit of room at the end just to have a little extra space so I know I see all my data. Similarly, for my y-axis, I'm going to go from 0 to 35 is what I'm going to choose, or 0 to 40, something around that range, just so I've got a little bit of extra room on both sides, and it's nice, it's convenient if you can see the x-axis. If you can't see it, no big deal, but it's nice if you can. So into my viewing window I go, and you can see I already have those numbers entered. So if not, I would just type in 0.6, 0.35, what have you. The x scale and y scale, those two things determine how often the calculator is going to put a tick mark on your axes. So if you have too many tick marks, it's really hard to read. If you don't have enough tick marks, it's equally hard to read. Personally, I choose to put a tick mark approximately 10% of this range. So from 0 to 6, that's 6 units, approximately 10%. I chose to put a tick mark every 1/2. Same thing down here, 0 to 35, that's 35 units, approximately every 4 units I'm putting a tick mark. So I use about 10% for my tick marks. And then from there, I'm ready. Oh, the one other thing you might want to do, I almost forgot, in the y equals menu, if you have any graphs turned on, you either want to clear them out or turn them off just so they don't get in your way. So I'm just going to delete that, I don't need it. And so there we go. Now when I hit graph, there I can see my axes, I can see my data. I've got tick marks, and I know this is going every 4. I'm sorry, these are going every half, and these are going every 4. And so I can still use my trace button, all those things. So that is a scatter plot on the TI-84. I hope you found that helpful.